Right, on with the show. Cyber threats are no longer just a concern for big companies. No, they're hitting every day people and individuals. Many of them are getting smarter, faster and harder to detect. So how can we safeguard ourselves and our loved ones? Well, let's ask our guest co-host, the managing partner of 030 Group. It is, of course, Saka Erekat. Great to see you as always. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Albeit, I wish it was without such a concerning subject, because this needs to be a concern for all. I think latest numbers from UAE Cybersecurity Council that we mentioned a little earlier on, 200,000 breaches, cyber breaches a day at the moment. Why are these numbers going north at the moment?
Well, you said it earlier, and I think it's very important to just pause for a second and remember the world we live in today is not the world we used to live in just 10 years ago. The amount of time we spend on our phone, the amount of time we spend on our laptops, on social media, the amount of information we share online is unprecedented, and it's only increasing. I have a 6-year-old at home who wants a phone right now. I mean, I was the coolest kid in town when I had a phone at 14 years old, right? So when we think about why all of this is happening, it's because the society as we know it is changing, life as we know it is changing. With that, we're sharing more and more data online. You know, how many times just in the last week did you send someone your Emirates ID? Or how many times did someone ask for your passport copy? The problem, unfortunately, is that this sensitive personal information is what people use to get you hacked.
It's interesting because we know, I'm going to say a buzzword now, everyone, AI.
Right.
There you go, I've said it. Now, you know, there is a lot of more AI hacking. How does that differ from the good old traditional hacking?
So I think it's really important to keep in mind that artificial intelligence has been used for cybersecurity probably for the last decade, right? And if you think about, you know, hey, why is like referring to AI in the last decade? Think about your suggested videos on YouTube or your spam filter on Gmail. All of these are artificial intelligence at work. Now, with that, AI is now used particularly to manage social engineering attacks. And this is something where it's really close to my heart and I want to talk about it, because the issues most of the time isn't necessarily what kind of system you're using, it's how you're engaging with people around you. So social engineering refers to a practice that hackers use quite often, where they impersonate someone that you care about, where they send you a message that someone you care about is in a difficult situation and they need money right now and you need to transfer them capital right now, right? So AI has unfortunately, you know, helped the attackers to be much smarter and to impersonate people, but at the same time, AI has helped us as people who want to defend ourselves to defend ourselves better.
Amazing. And how is the UAE preparing for, you know, cyber threats like this? It's a whole new world. What are we doing at a country level to stop this?
I think on a country level, and you know, not because we're on television or anything, what the UAE is doing in regards to cybersecurity is probably in the best countries in the world. There's a cybersecurity council. There is awareness. I receive a message every other week from Dubai Police on what to watch out for. My bank constantly informs me. The free zone where I have businesses registered informs me. So I think in the UAE, this is a country level agenda, a national agenda, and I think we're quite lucky to be there, to be right here, and to face all of this. Because if I look back at, I'm born and raised in Germany, no one's doing much awareness campaigns in Germany, unfortunately, and which is why the numbers there are much higher, and why, although the attacks are increasing, we're seeing that at the same time the vulnerabilities around society are decreasing because people are aware of it now.
I know you just mentioned the phrase, and I'm interested to find out a little bit more on why it's so important for us to raise the awareness of social engineering. What is social engineering? How do you explain it to people?
Well, think of it this way. There's two ways to get into a system, right? On one side, you have your username and password that is entered by a human. Right, so on one side you could take control of the username and password. On the other side, you could take control of the person in one way or the other. So social engineering attacks really are targeted towards the weakest link in this cybersecurity equation, which is the human.
Okay.
So they target you, God forbid not you, but you know, and God forbid no one that's listening, but you know, in social engineering, they target the person to make sure that they can impersonate that person within the system, right?
Okay.
And then once they have access through that person, it's much easier to have access to the wider ecosystem.
So, okay, this is. Now, I know instantly these two are going to take the mickey out of me. So, I've had my Instagram account copied, right? Someone has taken my photos, my profile picture, my bio, and everything, and just changed one thing.
It's much better, the other one.
It is. But, like, why? What are they hoping to achieve by that?
So I would assume that you have. So, by the way, you're asking the wrong person because I've never used Instagram in my life.
Oh, okay,
So,
interesting. Well, just in general, what are they hoping to achieve?
The theory says that you have followers.
Okay.
Right. By them impersonating your posts, and I would assume that everything you're posting, that account is posting.
Yeah.
Any kind of experience you're having, that that account is
Yeah.
having. Now, imagine tomorrow, where no one is able to figure out which one is the real Katie, right? And then I can start texting people as the fake Katie, saying, "Hey, but I'm traveling right now. And I really need someone to send me money immediately."
That's so it's building trust essentially.
Pretty
I
much,
actually
yes.
I genuinely never thought.
Yeah.
Don't trust me ever.
Or anyone else online.
True.
Now, Sakar, since you are giving sage advice, what are 3 to 4, actions that people at home can take to protect themselves from these situations?
I think you said it quite well. I operate in that way. Online, I don't trust anyone. And by the way, my entire work is online. The majority of my businesses are online. But if I'm not speaking to a real person where I can see their face and I know that this is their email, that's one thing to watch out for. Generally, do not be trustworthy towards people online. And again, we live in an online world. There's a very easy way to verify if someone is real or not. Ask them to switch on the camera, have a normal conversation with them. If you're dealing with someone, so let's assume I'm dealing with Katie, and I know Katie now, and I know not to trust Katie, but no, in all seriousness.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And I know Katie acts in a certain way or form. If suddenly Katie acts out of this form, that's something to watch out for. So that's the first thing. Just good old common sense and mistrusting strangers, right? We were all taught when we were children, don't trust any strangers. So go back to that. The next thing that everyone should be really wary of is any link that someone is asking you to click.
Yeah.
Any QR code that someone's asking you to scan, any even, God forbid, if you're in a restaurant and they're in on the scam for all intents and purposes, just scanning the menu could take you to a malicious site. And always verifying the actual URL where you're going, the actual website where you're going. So let's say you're scanning a QR code, because I'm not saying stop scanning QR codes, but when you're scanning the QR code, check the website before you actually click on it. Be ultra wary of anyone sending you documents, particularly on WhatsApp, of numbers that you don't know. If someone's sending you a receipt to something you've not bought, if someone's asking you to, click here, although you didn't initiate anything like that, that's something to be wary of. And also, be wary of the fact that, if someone wants to attack you as an individual, you're very exposed, to say the least.
That's something we know
but
about.
let's hope that this doesn't actually happen to any of us.
Also, I think what's interesting as well is if you have been hacked or scammed or what have you, sometimes you're so embarrassed and you don't want to tell people. But I think it's actually really important to kind of own up and go, hey, listen, I was a bit foolish in this instance, so please don't do the same thing as me. Because so many people are helped by other people actually coming forward through their stories, because sometimes you don't want to admit to it, do you?